Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of the Amateur in the Morning. I am your host, the Forex Amateur. Today is a beautiful Monday morning out here in Durban, South Africa. It's the 30th of November, so tomorrow officially begins December, right? I hope everybody had a blessed weekend and you basically spend time with those people that are important to you. So as we go into this week, as you know, on these morning episodes, all I like to do is just break up my view or break down my view of the synthetic indices market. And as of recently, we've started looking at the NASDAQ equity and the dollar index futures market. So that is basically the scene for today. Let's get straight down to business. Before we do that, let me just throw in my little disclaimer there. Remember, I am not qualified to provide financial, investment, or trading advice. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my opinion, and it is for educational purposes, right, or entertainment purposes, depends on which you take it as. Every trade that I take is trades that I'm taking with cash that I am willing to risk, and I do not recommend any specific trade or action. So remember, anything you do on your side with cash that you have, make sure you're doing it with cash that you're willing to risk and based on analysis and research that you've done. Okay, cool. So let's get straight down into the order of business for this morning. We're going to start with looking at the volatility 25-1S. Now, volatility 25-1S has moved beautifully over the weekend. So I basically had a setup in here that I did share with the paid group. And as you can see, we did get activated with a wick in here, and it's basically traded down from there, right? Now, obviously, in this instance here, all we're doing currently is we're managing the trade for those of us that are in the trade, and we're looking for re-entry opportunities, perhaps if the market does present those. For take profit areas, these are our take profit areas that we're currently aiming for, right? And basically, if we're able to hold this trade all the way back to the downside, then we'll basically take off portions of this trade whenever it hits these areas in the market. Those are also possible re-entry areas as well. So looking at the daily chart for today, there's not really much I'm looking to do with this chart today, but let's just have a look at it, right? So we've had this market pull up into that area. We had this fake breakout and price breaking back into structure at this point. So what I would be looking at for today for possible re-entry areas is I would like to see the low of this candle being respected, right? So the specific candle here that broke back into structure, I would like to see the low of that candle being respected. So if price does come up and touch these areas in here, I'll possibly be looking for another entry with a stop loss above that area in there, and we're looking to keep taking it lower. We could even aim for a stop loss above here to make it slightly tighter, right? But obviously we can drop down to lower time frames to look for better entry opportunities and better stop loss opportunities as well. As you can see, I am looking at price coming down into this area. That's my first actual profit target, right? This is a possible rejection zone that we've got in here, but there's nothing much that I am worried about at the moment. So I am just looking to see this market sort of trade back to the downside. If it does push up, however, I would be looking to see that if we can get any reaction from around these levels in here. And if we do, then we'll just continue taking sales back to the downside. Let's just see if I've got anything to speak about on the 4-hour chart. Let's have a look real quick. Okay, not really much I can speak about on the 4-hour chart, right? We can see this huge break to the downside from here. We haven't really broken any significant bullish market structure. So for now, we are still operating in this range that the market has basically created from this swing low to the swing high in there. So that's basically our range. Anything that happens in here is still fine, right? Because we're in right at the top. Okay, so looking at this area, we'd like to see this market keep going back to the downside from over here. Once it does break below this low, that is then full-on confirmation of a bearish transition in the market. So if I look at this chart specifically, I would like to see the market respect this supply zone that we've got in here. That also ties in with that daily candle that I highlighted as well on the daily chart. So we can see a bit of a supply zone right here on the H4 chart. So I would like to see how price reacts to this level. If it does give us some good rejections of that level, then this might be the actual entry that I'd be looking for, re-entry with a stop loss perhaps above these areas, or maybe just to be safe, I'd like to put a stop loss above the wick of that candle, because I generally do see price filling wicks, especially when it leaves big ass wicks like this. Okay, let's move on. This is a huge bullish reaction from the bottom, but it is off an expected level. I was looking at this area for a possible rejection, so nothing too scary happening at the moment. No reason to panic. Still full on bearish bias on this market. Let's move on to volatility 50. Looking at the weekly time frame, we can still see that this is still bearish. I did speak about it last week that we will see this area coming down. We will see price coming down into that area on the weekly. We did take buys off here last week, right? We were able to get in on some buys, which actually went very, very well, hit TPs in terms of this. And now we're looking at possibly the market coming down into this yellow block that I've got marked down in here, right? So once we see price coming down in here, if we get good enough reactions off this level, then I will be looking to take this price higher from there, all the way up into that gray zone, or perhaps even this trend line, which isn't really something that I do trade, right? But it does work as a very good confluence when it gives the opportunity. Cool. So for today, however, I am looking to see if we can get price coming back into the high of yesterday's candle, right? So we might see price coming back into the high of yesterday's candle. So these two blue lines that I've marked here is basically an entry zone that I'm looking at. If price does come back into this level, then I'll still be looking to go short from around here, say with a stop loss at around the high of this candle in there. And we'll still be targeting that same yellow block that I've basically marked up. Just give me a second, that I've basically marked up down in here, right? So this is still a re-entry zone to take price off here. As long as price does not break above this level in here, I'll still be looking to take sells down into here and then buys back up from there. Dropping down to a lower time frame, which I really don't think is necessary, but let's just have a look at what's happening on the 4-hour time frame. So looking at the 4-hour, we can see a huge consolidation happening in this area right now, right? So we can see the price consolidating in this area in here. Now, this is a very, very good opportunity looking at this, right? Because what I would be expecting is for this area, like I said, for this area to be respected. This is that zone that I mark on daily, right? So if I get a pop up in here, then I'm looking to go short from around there. If the market does break down, perhaps to come and form a bit of a double bottom down in here before going up, then most likely I'll still be looking to take the sell from around this area in here, or maybe slightly even higher as well. As a confluence, we do have this trend line right in here with one touch, two touches, and you can see we do not have a third touch on this trend line. So it's very likely that we'll most likely see a third touch on this trend line at some point, thereby pushing the market down slightly into that yellow block on daily and then pulling it back up to the upside. Cool. Let's move on to volatility 75. Now, 75 is moving really beautifully at the moment. However, I'm not participating in anything right now because there is a specific setup that I'm looking to take on 75. But looking at 75 for today, right, we can't, looking at 75 for this week. So we're looking at the weekly time frame at the moment. We can see the price has created this bit of structure in here, right? So this is the last low that was created before price pushed up and broke this previous high that was created by this swing to the downside, right? So that's telling us that this market is currently bullish at the moment. So for the remainder of this week, I would like to see, if we get any downside on this market, I would like to see the low of this candle being respected in there, right? And we'd look to see if we can still get some buy opportunities up into around these areas in here in the market, right? However, if I drop down to the daily time frame, I do see a possible selling opportunity coming off this line that I've got you on weekly, right? So this little zone that I've got you on weekly, that is an area that I am looking to sell from, right? So let's just have a look at what that looks like on the daily chart. So looking at the daily chart, we can see that currently price has created this first touch, second touch into there. So that's a bit of a double top, but I don't trade the specific formation of a double top, right? So I'm actually waiting for price to come a bit deeper into this yellow zone. And if it does tap into this pinkish zone that I've got in here, that will be even better. If that happens, then I'll be looking to go short from there all the way down into this yellow zone in the bottom, right? As you can see, I've marked up on here, we're getting a bit of a head and shoulders formation that's currently forming. So that's the left shoulder, that's the head, and I'm waiting for the right shoulder to be formed. And off this level in here is where I'm looking to take long buys all the way back into the upside, right? Upside targets I haven't really discussed at this moment, right? But I do have an idea of where I'm looking to go on the upside. But for now, I'm not really discussing that at the moment. So overall for today, I am looking to see this market basically continue pushing back to the upside, right? If it does pull back slightly, right, like I spoke about this level here on the weekly, then that's completely fine. It's not something that I am worried about. So the specific level in here. So if it does pull into there, as you can see on the daily chart, that is simply this level of structure in here. So if it does pull into this area, then that's still fine. Even if it pops down a bit below this, then that's fine. But most likely, if it does continue bearish for today, then we will see it coming down into around these areas in here before it continues back to the upside. Then I'll be looking to sell from there back down into this pink zone, sorry, yellow zone that I've highlighted on the downside. Let's move on to volatility 10, and then we move over to the equity and futures market. So let's look at the weekly chart on volatility 10, just so that you can get an idea of what we're looking at, right? So we can see this bit of a upward wedge pattern that's forming in here. And as you know, this is generally a continuation pattern, looking for price to keep going lower. I don't really trade those patterns, but when I do see it and it forms a bit of confluence in what I'm already looking at, then that is much better, right? So we can see this level of resistance that's currently holding very strongly. I'm looking to see price come into this level, this blue zone that I've got in here, and then I'm looking to go short from that area. So overall, looking at that for this week on volatility 10. Let's look at the daily chart and let's talk a little bit more about what could happen today. So we can see that price created this last structure over here, which I was watching, this last bullish structure, which broke above this high. But we can see that immediately it came up, created a new high, created a higher low, failed to break the high, and then broke back to the downside, right? So that's showing us a bearish sentiment to the market. So I immediately marked up this zone in here. And as you can see, price has reacted from this level already, right? But I'm not really looking to trade off this level at the moment. I'm looking to see what other confirmations we can get at this point. Perhaps if price pops above this level a little bit and then comes back inside, then I'll be looking to go short from that area, going down into around this area in here. Overall, looking at from this swing to this swing, we've got that high created. So we can put a bit of a channel in here, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches on the top of this channel. So there's a very high likelihood that price will pull back and break above this channel, because the maximum touches that we do see on a channel is about three touches. On the fourth touch, it generally breaks, right? As I said, I don't really trade channels, but when it does work as a confluence with whatever I'm looking at, whatever I am already looking at, sorry guys, it's a Monday morning. Whatever I am currently looking at, then I use it as a confluence, right? So I just use it as a confluence at this point. Looking at this H4 chart, however, at the moment, we can see that we've had this high created, and off there we've pushed down. So if we are able to pull back down and break this low, then that is telling us that this market is most likely going to go to the downside. Looking at it currently, it is showing that this is most likely going to be a lower high, which means it will push down to create a lower low at around this area, and then perhaps pop back up, and then drop into that yellow block that I had highlighted on the daily time frame down in here. All right, so let's move over to the dollar index futures. And let's talk about that a little bit. Share the screen. Let's move over. It's NASDAQ. It's dollar index. Okay, cool. So let's move on from there. On the daily chart, right, we're looking at, oh wow, it's already tapped into my level. All right, so looking at this level right in here, we can see that price has already touched into this level. So I've been calling bearish dollar since we were up in this area in here. So I do hope that you've been able to take full advantage of this. So pushing the dollar has pushed quite a bit to the downside. From this area in here is where I am currently looking for bullish opportunities of this area. There's a very, very high probability that we will see the dollar become bullish off around this area, not specifically on this first touch right now, but there's a very high probability that we will see dollar now become bullish, right? So let's look at the 4-hour chart and let's get in a bit of a intraday perspective on this. So we can see that price has already come into it, right, and rejected. It's come into it and rejected last week. Oh, sorry, today. Was this last night? When was this? Today's the 30th. Yeah, so this was last night, right? So it came in and rejected. And then again, right in here, it's currently rejecting again, right? So we are looking to see, okay, what's going to happen at the moment in here. There is a bit of a delay on the data right now, right? Because I don't have the paid version of TradingView because it really serves me no purpose because I don't trade currencies that often, right? But looking right in here, we can see that this candle is rejecting. So what we can do is just to get another more current view of this, perhaps look for a bit of an updated chart. But this yellow block right in here is the block that I am looking for. Bullishness on the dollar from this area in here. We can see we've got a breakout below these lows, right? And after that, what I can look for or what I can suggest is perhaps a pull back into this level, a retest of this line right in here. So say at around 91, let's just have a look, say around 91.75, a retest into around that area, and then we'll most likely see the dollar become bullish from around that area in there. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3 touches on this trend line already. So once we get some bullish sign from here, perhaps a lower time frame market structure break, and then we can look for buys off of this level. Oh wow, it's beautiful the way it's reacting. The data, please bear in mind, the data on this chart is a bit delayed. Let me just put it on current time in South Africa so I can give you an understanding of how delayed this data is. Oh, that's actually the current candle. 8:30. Yeah, this is the current candle. 7:30. Why does it start at 30 minutes past and not 0 o'clock? But anyway, so this seems to be the current candle in here. So looking at the H1 chart right now, I'd be looking at this level in here. This is a beautiful opportunity to look at the intraday chart on the dollar index. So I'll be looking at this level right in here because this is the last structure, right? Wait for a clean swing low to form at this level in here. Perhaps maybe a bullish engulfing candle above from here, and then maybe an pullback and a retest to the close of this candle or whatever it is that you use in terms of your confirmations, and look to take this market higher. Perhaps we get some rejections off around this level in here. So this might be a good target for intraday, right? So that's my thoughts. We actually got a great opportunity today to look at the intraday chart on the dollar index. So let's move back to NASDAQ. Let's talk about the NASDAQ markets. Even NASDAQ as well, we've had a very beautiful opportunity to take good buys off of these levels down in here. I've been talking about buys all the way from the bottom here. So if you were able to take advantage on that, really well done. So let's look at the daily chart on the NASDAQ, right? So we can see that we've got this bit of a channel that's developing right in here, from this low to here, right? From this high to there. Just move about a little bit, sorry about that. From this high to there, right? So we can see this bit of a channel in here. We've got 1 touch, 2 touches, second touch of that level. So we'll most likely see this NASDAQ pull back for another maybe 3rd touch at the bottom here before it pushes up, right? But I'm not very keen on looking for sells at the moment on NASDAQ, to be very honest, because if you look at this, we've also got a bit of a channel developing right in here as well. So what's most likely to happen is we might see the market pull back into around these levels in here to retest the structure and then push back to the upside again, right? Push back to the upside one more time and then drop from there, from around there, right? But if we drop down to the H4 chart, that there's a reason that I've got this pink line in here, right? So this pink line in here, I've been expecting a rejection of this level, right? As you can see that it actually came up, tapped into there very nicely this morning, and it's currently going bearish from that area in there, right? So looking at this, at this current moment, perhaps we could look at bearish targets to around down here, right? And around this area in here. So those are good targets if we are currently looking at sells on this current chart. Let's drop down to the H1 chart and see what we've got on here. Okay, cool. So if you see on the H1 chart, you can see that we've also had a channel right here on H1. Right here, we've had a break above this channel. We've got it breaking this previous structural low right in here. So let me just grab this tool. We've got it breaking this structural low right in here, right in there, which means that this current market is bearish at the moment. So I will expect it to come down into here and around this area. So say take profit target around here, second take profit target around here, and then look for this market to give us a bit of a pullback from there. So pull back into around this level and then maybe go bearish again from around that level. Okay, cool. So that's it from my side. Not really much more I can speak about. I think this was a great opportunity to look at NASDAQ and the dollar index on the intraday perspective, because we've just been speaking about the higher time frames up until this point. So I hope you guys are able to take full advantage of these setups. You know, go back, do your research, do your analysis, and if it does work for you, then might be a great opportunity for you to be looking for for you to be looking for shorts on the NASDAQ or even shorts on dollar pairs. Just be very careful, as I've spoken about countless times before, that when the equities market is bullish, generally the futures market is bearish. When the futures market is bullish, generally the equities market is bearish. Currently, we're seeing signs of bearishness on the continued bearishness on NASDAQ, and we're seeing signs that the dollar index is most likely going to go bullish. So that correlation that I generally notice seems very, very primer, and it seems like it works very, very well on these markets. So just use that to your advantage as well. That's just a bit of an amateur thought, right? So be sure to check out the other videos in the series as well, because it does work to your advantage to be able to follow the thought process as well, because there are things that I might have mentioned previously that I'm just not mentioning going forward because I don't see it necessary. So just go back and check the rest of the series as well, perhaps from around the 16th, which is when I introduced the NASDAQ and the dollar index to the sessions that I do in the morning. Prior to that, I was only covering the synthetic indices market. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to bid you adieu. A bit of Shakespeare in there for the morning. So I will catch up with you guys again tomorrow. So until next time, it has been a pleasure as always to share with you guys, and I am wishing you a blessed and a profitable trading day.